Today, for the first time, one of his childhood friends, who has made it big in the music business, offered his support to the family. NBC4's Jane Yamamoto is in Compton right now, and Jane spoke to Grammy winner Kendrick Lamar about his childhood friend. Jane.
Yeah, Kathy, that's right. Kendrick Lamar told me growing up here in Compton, they dreamed of making it big in the music industry. Today, he took some time to reflect on his childhood friend, missing now for nearly a year.
When we think about Raymond, we think about faith.
Keeping the faith, his friend will be found. Hip-hop rap artist Kendrick Lamar got an unexpected visit from the parents of his childhood friend.
And nice seeing you again, bro.
Keep praying.
Okay, man.
I love you.
Just to hug him, it just felt like I was hugging a part of my son.
You grow up with someone, you have a genuine love for them. So with this whole situation, when I was told the situation, and still to this day, a year later, I just feel faith. You know, that's all we have, you know, and hope.
Probably 10, 15 years ago, I'd probably be in jail now because whoever did this, whoever I thought did it, I probably went out there and tried to do something to them, you know, but God said, let me handle that. I'll fight your battles. You just be patient and be still. And that's what we've done. And, you know, we didn't get better. We have grown. We're stronger. We miss our son. My girls miss their brother, but we're better. We're in a better place. And like I said, secret things are with God, and we're going to continue to believe in that. He's going to take care of us, and that's what he's done so far.
There were still moments to swear, okay, where are you, God? You know where he is. Will you let us know, why did this happen? You know, did I fall out with God? No, I did not fall out with him. Did I have questions? Yes, I've heard people say, oh, you're not supposed to question God, but the Bible says to ask. Ask and you shall receive. So I asked. Did I receive the answers that I want? You know, I believe that we would see our son again, you know, and it didn't turn out like that, you know, but because of all that we have went through and with the help that we have had, you know, that has brought us to this place where we are now, you know, but I saw myself in a straitjacket. I don't know if I ever shared that with you. I saw myself. And I had to jump up from that bed, and I said, no, devil, you're not taking me out like this. I said, I have a husband. I have 2 daughters that still need me. And I said, we have to get the answers together, what happened to our son. You know, it was really devastating what we was going through and wasn't getting the help that we should have been getting from the law because we were citizens. We did what we were supposed to do to report our son being missing, and the feedback we was getting, why would they do us like that? And all these other people that was going missing at the same time that my son went missing, there was a young lady. She went missing Valentine's Day, which was a Saturday in the year 2015. And the last time we saw our son was Sunday, February the 15th. 2015. And that was 5-day span in between that we really knew something had happened to him. But she was on the 14th. The 16th of February, hers was on the news. At that time, we didn't know anything had happened to our son. But once we did, and once we started working, that was in February, it was March the 20th something, before our son got on the news about him being missing. A whole month later. Why it had to be that long, I still to this day don't understand. Because so many people were being missing, and every day it was on the news, and I was like, how is this happening? And we have reported. They told us what to do, and we did everything they told us to do, but nothing came of it.
What about for you, you know, as the man of the house, and you have all your girls here? I'm wondering what that was like for you as.
Well, you know, they said a man's supposed to be strong, but sometimes that strength you put up, you know, it get a little wavery too. You know, when it first happened, like I said, I was still in such disbelief that this is going on. I just couldn't fathom who would want to do something like that. You know, I lost my appetite. I just was sitting in the room, you know, but, you know, I was still trying to put on that strength for my family, you know. But, you know, there was a lot of tears. I didn't let them see me cry, but, you know, tears was there. My heart was hurting. He's my only son. He's named after me. I had a lot of big plans for him. That's why I brought him to California. I wanted him to have the opportunities that I didn't have. I wanted a better life Then sometime, you know, in retrospect, I look back on that, said, did I do the right thing? Maybe if I hadn't came out here, he'd be still living today. But you know, God only knows best, you know. You know, he had a plan anyway, but you know.
Well, part of what you're talking about is what a lot of individuals go through when we lose someone. It's kind of you go back and replay in your head what you could have done differently. Even when someone's sick in the hospital, well, I wonder if I should have asked the doctor one more question, or I wonder if I shouldn't have let them eat it. So that's kind of because as human beings, we naturally want to find a reason.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When some things in life, like you say, it's only God knows, and
only
there is
God
no
knows,
real tangible reason. And even if there was, you know, the likelihood that we would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, when it comes to those that we love and truly care about, you know, those parts of our hearts.
Absolutely.
It makes it really difficult. But it also brings another point, especially I feel like in, I'm not gonna say just African American communities, communities of color, that feeling like you have to be the strong one.
Yes.
That feeling like you can't allow people to see you break. And I think we have to find because when I think of strength, I think of everything that you all have been through, you know, being able to stay as a family unit together, because there are a lot of families that separate and go different ways after things like this happen. But being vulnerable takes a lot of strength. And so finding that balance between, okay, how do I hold it enough together, you know, that I can continue being there and present for my kids, but also showing a certain amount of vulnerability, because the opposite end that I think we don't think about, you know, as parents, as older siblings, things of that nature, is when our people looking up to us, whether it be a younger child or sibling or whatnot, never see you cry, they start to question what's wrong with them. All right, what's wrong with me? Mom and dad have it together. Everyone else sees it, but everybody's suffering in silence. Everyone's crying in the shower so no one can hear them, right? Everyone's crying at night when everyone's asleep, but no, we don't share that vulnerability. So I really appreciate you all even sharing some of the things that you went through with, you know, coping, saying that we cried, I stopped eating, because that is what people are really, really going through, but no one talks about that. No one talks about that part. And so you have all these people grieving as a collective, but then also grieving separately, questioning what's wrong with them, because we always have to have this strong face put on. But trying to find that balance is hard.
He wasn't a bad kid. Sure, all kids got issues, but he wasn't a bad kid. And if he was doing something wrong, and you know, me and his mother, we would get on him about that. And you know, most of the time he would listen. Sometimes he wouldn't, but you know, being a young man, you know, you want to try to create your own path. And, you know, but for the most part, he was a good kid. And for somebody just to viciously take his life like that, because your music sounding better than mine, or you filming a video for somebody I don't like, how petty and childish is that? I mean, if life don't mean that important to you, maybe you don't need to be here yourself. You know, that's the first thing you do. You know, your parents supposed to respect other people's. And, you know, it seemed like we didn't get away from that. And, you know, this world is in bad shape, you know. So, yeah, it's something that I don't wish on nobody. And, you know, my wife and I didn't take it upon ourselves to help anybody who's in that situation, who's in loss of child. We know we're not the first and probably won't be the last. But, yeah, it's still unbelievable that, you know, this is going on.
So you mentioned you all were grieving as a family and then also separately. So starting with you as a mom, what were some of the thoughts that was going through your head? You know, this is your oldest. Is he the oldest?
No, he's the middle child.
The middle child, the only son.
Yes.
Okay.
It was like I was falling apart, and I didn't want to fall apart because I wanted to find out. I wanted to fix it.
Well, that, and I'm wondering if there was a part of you that wanted you to be there for your kids. You know, as a parent, you don't want that. We think we don't want them to fall apart. We have to keep it together. We don't want them to.
I didn't. And my oldest daughter, she was trying to hold it together because that's her MO, how she is. But the baby girl, I wanted to protect her. You know, she wasn't with us when we all found out together. She was at work, and we were all in Compton at the church. My oldest daughter, my husband, and I. And coming back home, driving that drive, and we was all in separate cars. That was hard. My oldest daughter, she went home. She said, Mom, I'm gonna go to my apartment because just in case he come there. And she stayed, and my husband and I, we drove separate cars coming home. That was the longest drive ever. It's 45 minutes, but it seemed like eternity. And when we was getting there, my daughter was just coming in from work and having to tell her, it was like, and she looked at me like, for real? You know, and it was just hard. it was just extremely hard.
All right, and what about for you? What do you think has kept you and your wife together as a unit all this time, going through such a challenging situation that could tear families apart?
It had to be love. My wife and I have been together 42 years, still going. And like I said, it didn't build a lot of character between her and I. And we like I said, we're doing fine. And that's about all, you know, we okay.
Well, one thing I keep hearing both of you say is that you all talked about it. You got to a point where you talked about it. You asked each other about feelings. You talked with your girls about how they were feeling. And even to this day, you ask them, do they think about it from time to time? And I think that's such a key element in you all continuing to process what's happened is that, you know, a lot of families don't talk.
Absolutely.
They feel like, it's almost like we feel like if we bring it up somehow it's gonna make things worse. Or,
it's
people
taboo.
are scared of their taboo, people are scared of their emotions. And I'm like, no, I've never, in my field, I've never met someone who lost it, went crazy, whatever you want to term it as, from sharing how they felt.
Absolutely.
However, I have seen some breakdowns or some, you know, nervous breakdowns for not expressing how you feel, for having everything on the inside, whether it manifests emotionally and or physically. It will break you down.
Absolutely.
One way or another. And so for you all to acknowledge that without any, you know, just as one of the key elements to keep you all above water, even though sometimes it may have felt like you were drowning.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, my wife, she was having a difficult time at first. And I was going through it too, but you know, we survived.
The Collins family is definitely an example of a family where leaning on one another, supporting one another, and talking to one another strengthened their connection and their bond during an already very difficult time. Oftentimes, it's not uncommon for grief and loss and the death of a loved one to pull families apart. More fights happen around funerals. There's usually disconnect in relationships that end afterwards. And there's various reasons for that. But what I like to do is share with you just a couple of things that you can keep in mind that you or someone you know, you may share this information with them, can do to decrease the chance of that disconnected and those fights happening when a family is going through a grief process. So the first thing is just please set your boundaries. Understand that you may not be able to give as much of yourself, as much as your time, as much as your energy to things you used to, because your energy every day is being depleted by just going through the grief process, processing the fact that a person is no longer here. And that's painful. So give yourself permission to say no. Secondly, don't be scared to seek outside help. You know, I'm an advocate for therapy. Therapy is an opportunity to heal. And so if you're finding yourself having a really tough time with the grieving process, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Learning to live life with someone who is a significant part of your life no longer being here on earth is one of the most difficult things an individual can go through. So give yourself permission to ask for help, seek counseling, therapy, talk to your pastor, a grief and loss support group. All of these things are ways that will aid you in your healing journey. Another thing is, please respect everyone's grieving process. Everybody grieves differently. Oftentimes, we get caught up in thinking that a person should be grieving the same way as we're grieving. So if we're crying and sad, they should be crying and sad. We don't understand how they could be laughing and joking. We don't understand how they can return to work right afterwards. We don't understand how they could be having fun when we just lost a parent. And the fact of the matter is, everyone grieves differently. Everyone copes differently. There is no right or wrong way. So you will find yourself being less frustrated if you allow everyone to grieve in their own way, and you give yourself a release and some freedom when you give yourself permission to grieve in the way that's appropriate for you. There's no right or wrong way to grieve. Which brings me to my next and last thought I want to leave with you guys is that there's no pace on grieving. There is no, you should be over it by now. For those of you who have heard those things, my heart goes out to you, because there is no timeline on grief. And to be told that you should be over something or something only takes a certain amount of time is absurd. Everybody pace is different because all of us are going through different things in life, and the loss of that person means something different for everyone. So respect your pace if it's taking you longer, or don't judge yourself if you feel you found closure more quickly than more family members. And just remember that it's okay. There's no timeline. It's okay. Respect your grieving process. There's no right or wrong way. I just want to leave you with that.
And again, in our case, because we don't know of the whereabouts of my son's remains or whatever, that's a different type of feeling. In that sense, there is no closure. There has not been a funeral or memorial. So we come to make up this on our own. Earlier this year in May, we celebrated 34 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
His 60th birthday, my 59th birthday, all in May. And what I wanted to do, I still wanted to incorporate my son in that. So we had little ribbons made, and with those ribbons we put on there, it was like remembrance of him, because he was supposed to be a part of this. He was supposed to be a part of this, and I still wanted him to be a part of this. And that's what we did, and it just felt like that he was there, you know, and I wanted to add that, yes, we trust in God, we believe God, he is our source. We thank God for all of the brothers and sisters in Christ that we have, how they all came together for us. And I know other churches have beautiful memories and they're there for them, but to me, we have the best with our leadership, our pastors. And if it had not been for them continually to do what they're doing, but especially in the beginning, just keeping us together, I don't know if we had made it this far.
Yeah, in the early stages, it was rough, but I think our deep faith in God, prayers from our church, family, and friends, you know, it brought us together. You know, God said in his word, you know, those that wait on the Lord, he will renew your strength. And that truly have happened. You know, we miss our son. It hurts, still cry sometimes. Around the holidays, it hurts. His birthdays hurt, but you know, God got us. And he never left us, and he never will. And you know, with all this happening, you know, sometimes, you know, you get so mad and you want vengeance. You want to go out there and just, you know, do something that terrible. But God said in his word, vengeance is mine. And he will have his vengeance, whoever did this. I know they might be celebrating what they did and all this, but they're going to have to pay for this. You know, God said in his word also, you know, he keeping a record of everything we do. And if you don't repent and change your life, you're going to burn in hell forever. So we're going to say my son is in heaven, he's enjoying it, and hope he's up there with his grandmother and his grandfather and everybody else who's attached to him. And when we get to heaven, we'll see him again. And that's what that's going to be our purpose in life, you know, to get to heaven and see him again, because we know that he's there waiting on us.
You speak a lot about your church members and, you know, using prayer as a way of coping.
Absolutely.
Was there ever a point where you were upset with God? Was there ever a point where you felt like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Not turning you back on your religion,
yes.
But were you just like, all right, come on? Like,
absolutely. I mean, because, you know, that first shock, it gets you, because you're like, it can't be happening to me. You know, he grew up to be 29 years old. Now you're going to take him from us like this? What did we do? We hadn't harmed anybody. We hadn't did anything wrong. We live a godly life. Me as a father doing the right thing, my wife doing the right thing. Why us? But you know, they say, you know, the word tells us, you know, all secrets belong to God. He know why he did it. We can't question him. You know, he did it. He had a reason. We just gonna keep our faith. And he also said that in his word that weeping may endure for a night, but joy is coming in the morning. And we gonna stick to that, you know.
And it sounds like you were able to find your way back and
absolutely.
hold on to that,
you know,
despite those moments of frustration.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you acknowledging that, because I think a lot of people, we're all human at the end of the day, and you know, everybody has, you know, I mean, when you don't get a job, oh man, I really wanted that job, you know. So of course, when it comes to bigger things like family and things of that, you know,
yes.
and letting people know that yes, people have their moments, and I guess it's what you do afterwards, you know, to find your way back to whatever your spiritual belief is, to kind of, you know, sustain and keep you grounded as you go through the grief process. No doubt about it.
So the Collins family has mentioned a couple of different things that they do to keep Raymond's memory going, some traditions, if you will. And traditions are oftentimes helpful in healing on your journey of grief and loss. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant or big. It could be something as simple as drinking your loved one's favorite drink, cooking their favorite meal on their birthday. I know individuals who've created scholarship funds in honor of their loved one, who plan special vacations to visit places their loved one would have wanted to visit. So if there is a certain tradition that you like to implement or continue to represent and honor your loved one, to give an opportunity to talk about how much you miss them, it does help in the healing process. So don't be ashamed to do it. Don't be afraid to create one, even if it's just you by yourself. Sometimes family is just different. Everyone is grieving differently. You don't have to have everyone's participation in order for you to create a tradition. It could be something that you do only with yourself that no one else has to know about. The goal is for you to create your own healing journey and to remember that it doesn't have to look like anybody else's. And tradition may be a part of that.
We had a lot of family support from back home. I sent for her sister. That was good. She came out and stayed almost a month. But during that time, they lost the older sister. So it was a lot going on.
3 siblings. I lost 3 siblings.
So, you know, you can imagine losing your son. Now you done lost your brother and 2, your older sister. So
A lot of loss.
a lot of loss.
A lot of loss.
But we survived. And we're still here. We're still doing good. And we're okay. We're okay.
Well, thank you so much for just
Thank
sharing.
you.
Thank you so much for having
being
us.
so honest. And
Yes.
one of the things you mentioned when you say you incorporated the ribbons into you all's
I was
birthday
intending
and
to bring some
anniversary.
today, and I forgot.
It's okay, yeah, but I think that's such a key element because we were talking about grief and loss prior to us coming on, and there's grief and loss, you know, from natural reasons such as maybe just getting older, and then there's terminal illnesses. But there's a term called ambiguous grief that I don't think many people are aware of, and there's two types. Type 1 is where a person may be physically gone, but psychologically they're not, meaning maybe they natural disaster, in your case your son going missing, where they're physically not here,
Yes.
but psychologically you still have the memories, there's no closure, it's really hard. And then there's another type where the person is physically present but psychologically gone. So when you think about dementia or Alzheimer's and those type things where you don't know the person as they were, and that's a different type of grief process for
Yes.
so for you to say you incorporate the ribbons as a way of keeping him alive, a lot of families do that. I remember hearing a story about a mother who lost her child. He was kidnapped. I can't remember where it was, but it wasn't too long ago, but he was kidnapped. And she went through the grief process, and the Red Cross they're being trained in ambiguous grief because, you know, they respond to all these natural disasters and things of that nature. And the lady shared a story that the guy came back later to visit the mom, and she felt better. And what she had done is she had put her son's jacket out because he would help with the household. She put her son's jacket outside, and whenever she would get money from the state or whatnot for him going missing, it was some type of fund, she would go put it in his jacket, and whenever she needed help with her bills, she'd go to the jacket and pull some money out. And for her, she was like, see, he's still helping me even though she isn't here. So I think it is really important to, you know, whether it be a balloon release or a celebration, to continue to incorporate that as part of the healing process.
Absolutely.
And we did all that for his 31st birthday, or his 31st birthday. We had everybody to wear white. We invited all his friends and some of the family, and we just had them to come together, and we asked them to share whatever they want to share about our son, his friends. And I think I should have cut that part off because they really shared some stuff. You know, but it was the truth. But some of it we heard, I wasn't really, I hadn't braced myself for that. You know, and my husband released the balloons, and it was just beautiful. It was beautiful, and what I found myself doing, because my son loved to wear cologne, and sometimes he would put on too much, and because his dad used to do the same thing years ago, and he was like, "No, Mom, that's the way it's supposed to be."
That's why I caught her.
It was that one day I came home from work. I always would smell that scent, but this one day I came home, the scent was gone. It was gone, and I did not do well with that. I said, oh no, God, it's just like he's really gone. We were still hoping that he would be coming back. And now that smell wasn't there, it was just like he had never been there. So what I found myself doing was I made sure I put a picture in almost every room of him. A picture of, I just had to, because he could not, he's still a part of our lives. He will never, ever, no matter, even though he's gone, he's still a part of us. You know, I remember we had a portrait done because he had got to where he didn't like to take pictures. And he had taken a family out to go eat, went to a boiling crab. And the three of them were sitting on one side. I said, oh, this is my chance to get this picture. And I took this picture, not knowing, and it was 2 years before this happened to him, not knowing that I would have to use that picture one day just to capture all of them together as being adults. And now I have that picture on my wall. And I know we take other pictures that we pay all this money for to make a family portrait, but to me, that's the beautiful picture in our house because it's our three. As you walk in, it's right there to your right. And he's like with a half smile, but he's with his sisters. And that's just so beautiful to me. It's so beautiful.
What might be something that you'd leave with maybe someone who's in the beginning stages of this, where they've, their loved one is missing? What might you share with them?
If you don't have God in your life, you got to get him in your life. You have got to have prayer partners. You have got to have someone that you can call in the midnight hour when everybody else may be asleep, but they're going to answer that phone and they're going to listen to you. They're going to talk to you. They're going to pray with you. And if you need help, get that help. As I've heard you say many times, we take care of every other part of the body and we pay money for that. But for the mental, for our sanity, we don't do that. And that should be incorporated. That doesn't mean that you're weak or that you're crazy. That's keeping you from going there.
And being able to break the whole stigma that we can't have therapy and religion all at the same time, that you can't trust in God and also go to a therapist as an additional tool. And I always tell people it's an additional tool in the toolkit.
Yes.
You don't not go to the doctor if you break your arm.
We do that. We go to the doctor.
You don't just
that's
there
an additional toolkit.
You actually go, you get your medications, you get your casts and things like that.
It's a combination of all that,
Right. And I remember working with one of my younger clients, and her father shared that same kind of thought process that, God will heal everything. We don't need a therapist. God will. And she looked at him and said, well, God made my therapist.
Exactly.
Exactly. And he was just like, touche. She was like, well, God made therapists, so why would he make therapists if we didn't need to go to them?
He gave you the gift that you have.
It's a team effort.
Team effort. And it's an additional tool in the toolkit. Absolutely. It's not to take the place. It's additional support to offer a different perspective on things.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely.
And like you said, it's nothing wrong with grieving. Grieving is part of the process.
It's a process, and it's different for everybody.
For everyone.
And you go on ways. I have one client who says she has grief attacks. She's like, I don't know, I'll be fine for a long time, and then all of a sudden I'm just crying like a baby in my car. I don't know why. And then I wipe my tears and I kind of get back on track, and that's okay.
Yes,
that is okay.
That's okay. It's normal.
And
the goal is over time, maybe the time in between grief attacks gets longer, and the intensity may reduce.
Time.
But the goal is, when someone's been a part of your life for such a long time, it's hard to turn that off. You're going to grieve,
let go. And
accepting that as part of the process.
And a lot of people that haven't lost nobody, especially a child, some of them can't see it because it hadn't happened to you, but it's a process. You just don't get over it, one day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. Sometimes it takes years. Thank God that,
Or a lifetime, yeah. I remember I've had Miriam Jones on my show, and she lost 2 sons, and she was sharing how, if what does she always say? She says if a wife loses a husband, she's a widow. If a husband loses a wife,
he's a
widower. But there is no term. If a child doesn't have a parent, he's an orphan.
Yes.
But if a parent loses a child, there is no word for that.
Absolutely.
And you're right. It's not.
I think that describes how, excruciating.
Especially with the mother, too, because I was a mother's child. And I lost my mom back in 2005. And that was another sad day for me. But I can just imagine, what my wife went through losing her child, such at an early age, it's devastating,
Thank you guys so much for sharing your story. Any last words you want to leave?
Well, just like I say, I just like to say, if you lost a loved one, just put your faith in God and trust Him, and He'll bring you through. And like you said, just use all the tools that are available to you.
Yes.
Part of the healing process, and your faith in God will bring you through, and that's what it done to us.
Thank you guys for sharing your story and giving others the opportunity.
I would like to personally thank Mr. and Mrs. Collins for being ready and willing to share your story here on Raw Talk. For those of you watching, I truly hope their openness and vulnerability offers some encouragement, understanding, and inspiration as you or someone you know may be going on your own journey to grief and loss. Just remember, there is no timeline in grief and loss, and there is no right or wrong way to grieve.